All right, I am here with
Luke.
and
Me.
okay, and I haven't asked this for all the other interviewees, but you'll know why this is relevant. Could you share a little bit about your ethnicity and/or faith?
Okay, I am ethnically part Jewish, part Eurasian, mixed race, but yeah.
I'm Chinese, but I'm converting to Judaism.
What does Palestine mean to you? Why bother to come on a Saturday afternoon?
I guess I should mention that actually there has been a long history of Jewish anti-Zionism, but I think it's more of a middle generation, there was more... Anti-Zionism was actually very unpopular, and then it became more popular, and then now it's becoming less popular again.
Palestine, where it is now, it means everything, seeing the destruction that, is legitimized there. And seeing the destruction that is legitimized there, what it means to me is if destruction of such a large scale of a whole group of people can be legitimized, defended, and continuing for 5 months, at this point, what does that mean to any of us with any other occupying force that could be considered legitimate or not? Liberation for us is not just that. It has to be liberation for all in order for all of us to be safe.
What would you like to see in Singapore? What is the end goal of your activism, if I could call it that? And the government they would say, has been putting out more pro-Palestine rhetoric, or maybe they wouldn't say, but I would say probably they have this time around more pro-Palestinian rhetoric, right? What else would you like to see?
The Singaporean government saying things isn't the Singapore government doing things. We are still involved in arms trading and arms dealing in military technology with Israel as we speak.
What you would like to see is not a cutting of ties, but
stopping all those, deals with military,
right.
With
so just military deals.
Military deals and also business deals that can, influence the military in that way.
So yeah. I think the government would say, maybe with some justification right there, we have never done that. We have never done that. We have never cut off any ties with Myanmar, with, the worst abusers of human rights. The government still continues dealing with all sorts of human rights abuses, right? So why would this be a legitimate exception?
It's not a legitimate exception. It should be a thing that happens with every other abuser that,
Then there would be no diplomatic relations left.
It's not a point of diplomatic relations if the relations is causing harm elsewhere. What?
Got it.
I mean, just now in the event we learned that, Singapore did take part in a boycott or it did sanction Russia.
It did.
With regards to military, with regards to the military and military technology.
Right.
But
and I think it's important, even if the government doesn't agree, it's important to hear voices like that. And this is what young people want, and maybe some young people want at least. This is how people feel. I think the two of you are not the only one. There's a lot of people who feel like you would.
Many people I know, even if they're not posting every single day, I still see one or two posts about how they're horrified about what's going on in Palestine. And I'm sorry, but I have to...
Okay, please. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I have to call
Thank you so
again.
much. Okay. In these spaces, I always hope to see Jews, and I usually do. There will always be, even though it's amazing, right? The Jewish community is so small, but you'll always see some Jews turning up at these spaces. So I really appreciate.
yes. Now if you want to meet Jews, come to a Palestine solidarity event.
I am here with
Saiful.
And Haikal.
So let's do word association game, okay? Or phrase association. So when I say one phrase, you tell me the quickest things that come to your mind. Okay? So the first word, okay? Is complicated.
Allahu Akbar. That's my first.
This is a secular show. Please,
okay.
please don't bring God into
Try it
this.
again.
It's complicated.
That's insulting.
It's too complex for me to give.
That's insulting.
Okay, why? Why is it insulting?
Because it treats us as if we don't have the mental capacity to tolerate complexity. I find it insulting as well that you can't trust us to deal with this with tact, with wisdom, with intelligence. So that's what I find insulting.
Okay. But you understand the intent. It's just that you think we have moved on beyond that.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Right. Okay. Got it. So that's the first phrase. The second phrase from the, no, nothing. Okay, so the second phrase is we are too far away. Why bother with this?
Because standing up for what is right transcends distance, right? And we stood up when there is injustice happening with the Rohingyans. We stood up when there is injustice happening with the Xinjiang province. We stood up when there's injustice happening in Bosnia. We stood up when there is injustice happening in Ukraine. Russia.
Yes, just happened.
Exactly. So, but when it comes to Israel, it's complicated. So that's infuriating, right? Recent times, there are atrocities in Syria, which has a higher body count, like 500,000. But yet, when it comes to the Palestinian crisis, since October 7, there's a 30,000 body count. I was thinking about it. Why is it that we are especially infuriated? Because of the double standards. So with the other conflicts, it is plainly clear who is right, who is wrong, and there is no, there is no that. But what really hurts us is, but when Israel does it, and there's a US ally and all that, it's complicated. And that's what we get up in arms about.
But the thing is that when we speak about other issues like Xinjiang, when we speak about other issues about Yemenis, or in fact the Rohingyans, these things are probably not picked up as much by people from the mainstream media. In fact, the issue here is raised at a different level because we know that the genocide that's happening at this level is way worse and is being backed by the global Western community.
Right. So that's the thing, right? This is in our face. And I feel that that's just a way to minimize what we feel about this. Hey, what about this? What about this person? This body count here, that body count there, right? The final phrase. This is a religious conflict.
Oh, hogwash. It may have started out like this, but it has evolved beyond. You don't need to be people of any religion to be able to see an atrocity as an atrocity.
And stand up for humanity. And stand up for humanity. Right? At the end of the day, people are being killed, people die. You don't have to be Muslim or Christian or Jewish to know that killing people is never based on anything religious. It's a human issue. It's a humanitarian issue. People die and you should be standing up for that. To me, it compartmentalizes this issue to just a Muslim issue, right? Because majority of Muslims live in Palestine and therefore it's a Muslim issue and therefore it's not our problem if we are not Muslims.
Right.
And then you compartmentalize that. Same like for any other issues when it's a very cop-out. It's an easy way to say that, I'm sorry, say in the same vein as, we are far, we are a small state, our voice does not matter, we cannot create a dent in the global society, blah blah. That's an easy way to say that I just want to wash my hands off of these things.
And I dare say that the antics that we've seen coming out from the IDF when they share the soldiers on their personal capacity on their social media, they share videos and pictures of them enjoying, basking in the fact of the death, right? I dare say that those acts by those people, I don't think they are religious themselves. As in, I don't think Judaism is about this.
Right.
I don't think Judaism is about this at all. About you throwing flashbangs into a mosque of Palestinians praying in the morning prayer. I don't think Judaism says this is okay.
How is their justification of using religion different from what ISIS has been using, right? Using religion as a basis to say that what they are doing is right. So on that
That escalated quickly.
and on that basis, and I think we need to be aware of this, right? And we need to call out as it is, using religious scriptures, using religious texts.
And Muslims know that we have been asked to condemn and we are happy to condemn when our religion is being perverted. We are happy. It's just that we are unhappy when it's double standards, right? I am still waiting for the condemnations of Palestinian civilians, right? Final thoughts?
I think the Singaporean people deserve more. Don't condescend. Do not think that we don't have the intellectual maturity to be able to handle these difficult conversations. And in fact, I dare say, as a community to grow, we need to be allowed to have these deeper conversations. The old days of hush, just really not religious harmony, just religious tolerance, just religious repression. No more repressing. It's not the way forward.
And it should grow in our consciousness about things that are happening here. But the space also needs to be allowed. I think we cannot continue to be curbed by saying that, you are transgressing certain OB markers. This thing cannot be discussed in public. And this is a humanitarian issue more than it is a religious issue. So it needs to be out there in the consciousness of people of Singapore.
Wonderful. Okay, I am here with
Arun.
Srina.
What does Palestine mean to you?
I think Palestine is kind of like an awakening for especially for people who are non-Muslim, right? Like there's been a lot more. I think it really has helped non-Muslims in particular all around the world really start to overly question things that they otherwise may have felt comfortable or comfortable being ignorant with because it's not in their face.
You know what people who are watching will say, look at this crowd. It's always the same, the liberals. You know, these liberals, what is that purple? Or, it's always the purple hat, blue hat, the tattooed liberal. It's always the same kind of crowd that. So what would your response be to that?
For me, I feel very strongly about certain topics, especially about the genocide. It's not Israel-Hamas conflict, by the way.
I don't like that term, you're right.
It is a genocide.
Right? And if you want to call it Israel-Palestine, why? Like, it stopped being about Hamas on 8 October.
A genocide is what it is. It is not complex, FYI, very black and white. A lot of things in life isn't very black and white, but this is something that's very, very clearly black and white. Yeah.
We are all Singaporeans and we know a lot of our friends, they are not malicious. They are not evil people. It's not that they don't care about genocide, but they are politically apathetic.
Yeah.
Most of them are just, okay, like, it's not the biggest deal in the world. What would you say to them?
It is a humanitarian issue. It is basically, responding to it is basically a humane thing to do, as opposed to just being quiet and, doing something is better than doing nothing lah. That's where I stand. Like, at least talk about it, or even if you don't understand the topic, try to go and find out more about it, right? So you can understand why there are so many people so upset about this issue. Why are there so many people advocating for their rights? Yeah, so I hope that.
Yeah, if you don't understand, there's Google, there's books.
Yeah.
There are all sorts of
There's so much
stuff
content on
online,
social media
exactly
now.
on social media. Like, that is really not an excuse. Thank you for that.
People may not want to do something, or may not feel engaged in a particular topic because they may perceive that they are not close to it, socially or culturally or whatever it is. But to that, I'll say that you don't know how close you are to something until you know how close you are to something. And sometimes whether it's by accident or by design, we may not be cognizant of how close we are to something, right? But when an issue finally happens, when it finally hits you, you will feel engaged. You won't need anyone to agitate you. You will feel closer. You'll feel engaged. And I think that's what's happening now, right? Which is that something that for the longest time they felt was very far removed from their lived experiences is now front and center in everything that they are seeing, and there's nothing they can do to push it away.
100%.
Last time when it wasn't social media, you'll see on the newspaper maybe 2 days there'll be front page, and then after that nothing. So sort of out of sight, out of mind. And I get that we have our own day-to-day struggles and just living, but that doesn't mean that disappears. It's still there, and now you have less of an excuse to hide behind that.
That is really a good way to close this, because that is optimism, right, on your part.
I guess
Let's talk about it, and people will change. And I do believe majority of people are good. It's just that they don't care. We just need to extract the goodness out of them. Sometimes it's harder to extract.
You can never get anything out of silence. Someone needs to start talking so that people are aware of the issue. And slowly that's how change happens, right?
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
you.
Okay.